Okay, so welcome to Men Talk. Leroy Springer, the one and only Leroy Springer. So, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I won't complain.
Okay, great. So, I wanted to let you know that how much I appreciate you coming on to our program today. Let you know that you're one of the most interesting people that I know. I like to get interesting people on to my program. So I got you. I knew you from a long time ago, but I guess recently kind of gotten to know you a little bit better, and I appreciate it. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So give us a little bit of background about who you are, where you were born, so on and so forth, in your own words.
Okay. I was born to the union of Mrs. Miriam Trice, Miriam Trice household, the union of Charlie Springer, and I came from a family of 16. So I
16.
was born in Northeast 16.
Oh
I
wow.
was born in Northeast Mississippi in a little section of town called ShakeRag.
ShakeRag.
I grew up there and I loved it there. I regret sometimes that we don't still live there.
Yeah,
But
that's one of our topics, of course. You can see my little background there. I got the shake rag, shotgun houses, so on and so forth. So tell me a little bit. You say you grew up there. I hear a lot about it. Of course, I was too young to know about it. I don't know exactly when it was ended, but I hear a lot about it. My dad, all my uncles and everybody. So just give me a little bit of background about shake rag.
whether it was shotgun house, it was straight through. We had outhouses, and the people who were less fortunate had to use that outhouse. We had pumps, water pumps, but all in all, I was happy there because we bought it. We grew our own vegetables, our own fruit grow wild. They grew wild. And when I grew up, there were plum trees and pears and apple trees that's on people land that they didn't mind you
You
getting.
say palm
So we
trees.
were, yeah, I mean plum trees,
Oh, plum,
like
palm tree.
apricots and plums.
Okay.
Uh,
So how many
there
houses?
was some plum trees over there. Mr. Romy London, who had a mansion over there, he had these figurines of the birds that be in Florida,
Okay.
the ostriches and flamingos and stuff. And his house was like Adobe brick house.
Who
That
was
was the
he?
only mansion in Shake Rag. It was a mansion.
What was his name again?
Romy London.
Romy London. Okay. All right. He
Yes.
was like he was a celebrity there. Or what was
He was
his
the godfather there, the numbers and racket and
Romy London? I'm
bootlegging
gonna have to write
and
that. Romy
yes,
London. I'm gonna have to do some research on him. So how many
yes.
houses would you estimate that was in Shake Rag? Like it was right outside of Tupelo. Give us a little bit on the location exactly. Where was Shake Rag?
Shake Rag was across the track in the Bancorp South Arena area. That
Okay.
entire area that was Shake Rag.
Oh, okay.
There, there was the Unity. It was kind of like a city within city within the city.
Okay.
Uh, there we had our own everything: seamstress, clothing, food, restaurants, what have you. And it was a joyous moment there. Sometimes it would flood out.
Uh-huh.
And in Froggy Bottom, there was an area called Froggy Bottom. And every year, that area would flood. And people had to wait until their homes dried out, go back in those homes because they would have to get the water moccasins out of there.
Mm. So it
Uh,
was down in a valley of sorts, or
it
what
was
was
like it was like sunken. It was a little town that was sunken.
it? Mm.
Um, Over there, we had the cattle barn, the mule barn. There were Mr. Chief. He had a truck place over there. And that's where I first learned about the Ku Klux Klan. They had a meeting over there one night, and I was a little rascal running all over the place. At that time, you when sun go down, you're supposed to be home. With me, I would always be sneaking and peeping and doing stuff adventurous, really, by myself.
So okay, so I'm trying to get an idea of what time period ShakeRag lasted. Give me an idea of like when you were there, and then when was the last time that ShakeRag was in existence? I know eventually they tore it all
It
down
was
or
in
burned it all down.
the early '60s or mid '60s when they started burning the houses down while we lived in them.
Mm,
They literally took the people's land, and they wanted that land because it was a beautiful geographical area. There was
mm.
mounds and hills and just swamps, and they even said quicksand was over there. I know that
Yeah,
a lot of times there was this moist place that you go in and you would just constantly sink, and cows and stuff even got in it and wasn't able to get out. That was right in the area behind the skating ring. We had a skating ring, our own skating ring over there.
oh, okay.
And just before you get to the skating ring, there was this big two-story house that had harbored like four sides up and down. My aunt owned that. That was called the big house.
The big house, huh?
Right up the hill was the big house. You can
So
imagine. I worked there in the big house on Wednesday. If you go and check my community record, very seldom I went to school on Wednesday.
oh, okay. That was the
But
day you made your money, huh?
yes,
So okay,
yes,
it was across the tracks. So that track you're talking about is right there where the Coliseum is now. That bridge that goes across. You know where the
yeah. No, no, no. You over too far. Do you know where that parking lot is by the city jail?
right? Yeah.
Okay, right across that track right there. There used to be the gin, the oil well, the compress, and the trains and stuff. It was a lot of trains used to park on those tracks.
Okay,
And
I got you now.
uh yes.
So the
And we had
people.
an area called
Go
Triplet
ahead. I'm sorry.
Street.
Okay.
Triplet Street, R Street, Front Street, all of the places had little areas that you could go and play. Kids played in the on the factory. Farm equipment, and we call that the lot. We had made us a basketball goal there. We had certain areas that we could go and skate in concrete areas, but the
Mm,
rest of it was either red clay mud or rocks. Those houses that you sitting in front of in the background,
mm-hmm.
that first one is Miss T. Russell's house.
Oh, okay.
And go next on up with the one with the little fence around it. That was Miss Orvie's uh, home.
Oh, okay.
Uh, those areas was considered shake rag. Shake rag consists of Goose Hollow, Bynum Quarters, and Bynum Quarters was literally named from Carter Bynum. Um, I think baby sister Bynum and Walter Bynum, who was like a scientist. He did all type of stuff with animals that made them obey.
Mm,
He had like all type of animals in the little, well, I say a little
like a
greenhouse
zoo.
back they did.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So though, tell me about this Shake Rag. So Shake Rag was down where the Coliseum is now, and it went up to Front Street to the lake area, or it wasn't that quite that far?
No, it wasn't that quite fun because when you passed the track, you couldn't go across the track because there were ditches with a lot of water and
Okay.
snakes and all that type of stuff in that. So we had to be very careful when we walked down there,
So y'all pretty
especially
much
certain
stayed
streets.
on your side of the tracks. Y'all didn't go very much on the other side of the
It
track.
was
That's why they call.
taboo.
Oh,
It
okay.
was taboo. If you didn't know anybody there, you couldn't come over there because the men that really sheltered the young ladies during that time, because at that time the Ku Klux Klan men, they kind of raided ShakeRag and raped the young ladies and maimed the men and just what happened, whatever they wanted to do to us. So as a little boy, we formed us a little group. So late in the evening, we expect and thought that they were going to drive through the neighborhood throwing urine and eggs and bricks and shooting at us. We would hide behind houses and in the thickets and in trees. And when they come, we were blasting with bricks and bottles and sticks
Yeah,
and stuff. Yeah,
My granddad Jim and daddy used to tell me about the white dudes that ride through the neighborhood with switches and stuff. And every once in a while, one of their trucks will break down or something, and they, get whooped or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. So this was during the '60s. So how
Well, I
prevalent
was
was?
born in 47. When I was 6 years old, I was reading and writing. Stuff was boring to me. I had started reading. I got a lot of homeschool because I was asthmatic.
Uh-huh.
I had bronchitis. I was a sickly child, and a lot of times I couldn't go to school because at that time we didn't have doctors.
Oh,
And
okay.
we had a doctor, but he was overworked, Dr. Walter Allen Zubel. And
Zuba, yeah.
Dr. J.I. Nelson, Dr. Nelson also came there. There was another doctor. Shake Rag harbored a lot of things. It harbored midwives, babies being stillborn. We buried them in cigar boxes and what have
Well,
you.
mm,
And
that's
there's so much stuff. There's
yeah,
so
it's
much
amazing.
stuff that's in my back of my mind
Yeah.
uh, that people wouldn't believe. My uncle got killed over hearsay,
Mm,
but nothing was never done about it. He was actually murdered. I know one man that got hung. He was in my family, cousin Snoop, because he looked at a white lady. I was very young, but my mother told me she didn't think I was old enough to remember. But that's why I say kids are in a stage and they growing up here that they learn stuff even though can't verbalize and can't speak, they know. And
right.
they learn at a very early age. I was very apt. I learned to pour up corn whiskey at age 6.
You
By
gotta
the
learn
time
what?
I was corn whiskey,
Oh,
home raisin jack,
you learn how to
all those
make it?
different. Yes, I
Oh,
still
okay.
know how to make it.
So of course there was a lot of bootlegging. When was liquor actually legalized back then? What year? Around what year was it legalized?
Oh, I'll say somewhere right after we protested for voting,
Oh, okay. That was in
the early
60. Yeah,
65
yeah.
or 64, somewhere like that.
Right. So
But you still had to go to the back door of the place to buy purchase liquor. We
right.
weren't allowed to go in the front doors of the buildings. The only time that you would see a number of black people in just conglomerating downtown during the holiday season and whenever
Uh-huh.
Carlos Band came down the street. They
Right,
would
right.
shut the buildings. Every store in the city would close down just to see the band come down and perform.
Hmm. Yeah,
I
that's
got the high school band in third grade.
yeah, that's another subject that we're gonna get into in a minute. I wanted to talk a little bit about Shake Rag before we moved on to Carver, but let's talk about a little bit about the music scene, the performers that were at Shake Rag, some of the people that came down, and how the club set up down there.
Well, you couldn't say they was clubs. They were little
Good joint,
houses.
hole in the wall.
Yes, yes, hole in the wall.
Yeah,
Where you would see people like Tyrone Davis, Little Milton Campbell, Howlin' Wolf, Bessie Smith, Bally, and the Upsetters, and it. you'd be surprised at the celebrities. Even James Brown and Carlos Thomas even came to ShakeRag before they did the show
Oh,
at
okay.
the Elk. They come there and entertain at different restaurants like Little B's Cafe. They would go there and eat.
Now,
Uh,
Miss, you would tell me about some of the different clubs. I think you said Miss Wortham had the most prominent one, or which one you think?
yeah, she had one they called a bucket of blood, and they sold house brew, home brew up in there, and bootleg liquor, cigarettes,
Yeah.
everything. You know, when truck drivers come to town, the white ones, we'd be over there. They would come over there and get entertainment.
Okay.
See, there was a lot of prostitution and stuff going on in that area of
Yeah.
town.
A
But
lot of people don't
people
really,
don't.
a lot of people don't really like to talk about that because a couple of people that lived in ShakeRag, one time I was talking to them and I was trying to, trying to get an idea of what really went on because I hear various stories, but it was kind of like a little Vegas kind of, but it was on a smaller scale, I guess. Like, right?
Yeah, we used to call it Little Chicago under the track.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, because there was a lot of stuff going on and people don't want to admit it.
Yeah.
I lived there. I loved it there.
Right.
Um, my neighbors, we didn't, everybody whipped us.
Yeah.
We had the largest church there in the city, black.
What
Rising
church was
Star
over there?
Missionary, Rising Star Missionary Baptist, and Emmanuel. Then it was Shannon, Esau, Reverend Esau Shannon. He was the minister there. Then every year they would have like the conventions and conferences. They come there, and it just be a glorious reunion with the saints over there.
Yeah.
Then you find every Presley prophet sitting on the side of the ground. I think we didn't get tired of that hound dog
Yeah,
sitting out there
let's talk
24
about him one more time before we leave ShakeRag. Now, everybody, of course, want to take credit for knowing Elvis now, but he did, according to a lot of people, grow up around ShakeRag. So tell us the real scoop on Elvis.
Elvis came from a family of misfits. His mother, father, all of them was alcoholics. And whenever they find him over there, they come over there and beat him up. He could run around with black eyes and stuff because he liked being in the presence of black people. He didn't
Mm-hmm.
mind who thought he knocked on the door. Everybody would feed him.
Mm-hmm.
And he had this old brown hound dog. Well, lad, you stay away, well.
Hey, you turn your mic off. You got to turn your mic back on. Leroy, turn your mic back on. I can't hear you. Okay. All right, you got it back on now.
Yes. My cousin was in the high school band. He played the big bass drum, and he was bringing me home one day to meet Elvis, and they got in some trouble. So he left the sixth estate, and when he came back, he was a grown man. Because in
Okay.
those days, they would beat a black man and make him confess that he done a crime that didn't some white person did.
Mm.
So it was a lot of stuff going on. But my mother was the one who didn't get it. She stood up to all of them. Like my great grandmother, who was a slave, she would always tell me about where she came from, that they came from the swamps and the bayous, and they came from Florida. They were burning the city up.
Mm-hmm.
Where they came from, and some of my relatives and stuff got bit by water moccasins, and the alligators got them. And she would always say, "Your mammy's mammy lived in the big house. That's why you like kids. They find them messing with them chinks off there in the laundry, doing the laundry and stuff like that. Half breed." And we that time we were kids, and I would say, "I don't want to eat that food she cooking. I don't want
Yeah.
to take the medicine."
Yeah.
But she would take me with her out in the wooded areas and take her bushiti blade and dig different type of roots,
Mm-hmm.
leaves, and make all kind of stuff. And she made stuff that white people lined up to come and get it once she had made it. In those days, you didn't need telephones. We had a telephone with Vinewood 2325.
Oh,
And
those are the party lines then, right?
yes, everybody could hear your business.
Yeah,
But when
I
your
remember.
parents get ready
I remember Jeff Norwood's grandmother out in Palmetto had a party line, and we went out there. I was real little, of course, but I do remember one party line, and that was I think maybe my great grandma, Mommy, may have had one or something. I don't know, but I do remember party lines though. Yeah. Last thing on ShakeRag, my uncle Bally. He had the band, one of the biggest bands down there. Tell me a little bit about Bally. And what went on with it.
Bali was a player. Bali was a player. He was considered a real pimp in those days. He had white women, black women. He was somebody serious because he was a man. He could entertain. He knew how to draw a crowd.
Okay.
And I don't think the white people kind of liked it. So he and Sister Baby left.
Okay.
And she once came back from California, tried to get me and my group to go out there and said we could get paid for what I do. And she asked me how much they pay me. I said, well, we do it for the Elks. And I just do it because Mr. Gus asked me.
Okay.
And so she said, you can get paid for your talents.
Bali, his music was more blues, jazz, or what type of music?
Blues, rock and roll.
Okay. So he did a little bit of everything.
Hair. He was tall in stature. And if you want to see some Stacey Adams that shine worse than Professor Theodore Barron, you need to see Bali.
Bali is he's like a mythical figure in our family. Like I was small when I knew him, but the last I can remember Bali, we had moved down to where on the professional circle down under the hill from Carver Street, and he came down once and played the piano that Angie had, and it just kind of blew me away. Like ever since then, I've been kind of like investigating more because my daddy always talked about how brilliant Bali was and what all he could do. He could just do anything he wanted, basically. Whatever he did it the best almost. So yeah.
He was the only black man I ever know that went in places like the Shade Tree Lounge and played and nothing happened to him.
Oh, okay.
He took his band anywhere. They was welcome everywhere because he played the music that people like to hear.
Okay. Good. Well, we're gonna move on from ShakeRag, but we're gonna do a whole nother show on ShakeRag, and we got some more works. I'm trying to get this showcase off the ground, as you know, ShakeRag Rhythms, kind of recreating that area as much because there's a lot of talent in Tupelo, and right now they can't perform, but we'll get around to that. But let's move on to Carver. So when had you moved away from ShakeRag when you went to Carver, or how did that happen? When did that happen?
No, I was still living in ShakeRag when I got in the high school band in the 3rd grade. Bobby Robeck quit. William Blanks came along, and I tailed back with David Edwards during that year. Mr. Branch, I got in the band the year that Mr. Branch left Carver. Yeah. I made the band then at tailback. And Mr. Branch left.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Mr. Branch left, Mr. Paulo came in.
Yeah, most people know, the younger people my age know of Carver band with Mr. Parlow, but my dad talks about Ben Branch all the time, who is, I guess, one of the most famous directors. He went on to play for Martin Luther King, and certain people like that. Who was Mr. Branch? I mean, tell us a little bit more about Ben Branch.
Well, he was a short man in stature. I think he was from Tennessee, but when he came down, the years that he came down, most of the majorettes in those days came from ShakeRag. And everybody, Bobby Ruff was drum major then. I don't know if you remember Bobby Ruff.
Oh, yeah. Bobby was, he stayed at my grandmama's a lot of time, cleaning up and washing clothes and stuff like that. He was like a housekeeper to help Ruby a lot. So I remember a lot about Bobby Ruff. And then he was next door at Tom Brown's house. I forget his wife's name, but yeah, I do remember Bobby a lot.
So they were setting trends. At that time, I was taking dance lessons from Mary Alice McAllister when it wasn't allowed. Black people weren't allowed to go in places. So what she would say that I was cleaning up her place and she would let her shades down and teach me different rudiments of ballet and stuff.
So what's her name
Mr.
again?
Carroll,
I missed the name.
Mary Alice McAllister.
Okay.
She had a dance studio there at that time. And I was the first Black to ever go to anything like that with the help of Miss Hattie Pearl Devereaux.
Right.
Miss Devereaux got me in the arts because she saw in me what nobody else saw when I first performed. And she just took a liking to me. And she and my mother were real good friends. They went to school together.
Yeah, that's my auntie, of course, Miss Devereaux. Her and Ruby, you know, they sisters. So I would kind of go a little bit up to her house and then over to Miss Lowndes' house, you know, back and forth from Ruby's to Miss Devereaux and Miss Lowndes. So she was, Miss Devereaux was one of the mainstays as far as teachers there. What were some of the best or the most prominent teachers at Carver?
I'm gonna say my analysis now. Miss Devereaux, most definitely Miss Washington. Don't forget Mr. Washington. Mr. Guster, who taught a lot of Black History Assembly during chapel time. A lot of stuff that he told us about are existing on this present day.
What about Miss Brownlee? Who's that? Who's Miss Brownlee? My dad had talked about her a lot.
Miss Brownlee lived over there. She was a teacher, and she was Miss Radley's sister.
Okay.
She lived over there now. Yeah, she taught at Carver. Don't forget Phyllis them's mother, Miss Doja. She would sit on you and pinch you when you be bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So that band, the Carver band was like notorious for the best band around. You told me that you guys would go to Jackson State and compete against colleges. Tell us about that.
1 year we went there, and that's when I first had come back from second trip from a band camp, and I learned to teach. Twirl the torch baton.
Yeah, I remember that.
And you do. So
yeah, they used to cut the lights off.
Down there, Sonic Boom, the Golden Girls, Valley State, not Tougaloo, but one of those other colleges from the South. We went down and we competed because we had won first place in band competitions and stuff. So we went down there and Sonic Boom, they came out. They did their little stuff. The Golden Girls shook it up. So we were competing, college against the high school band. We won international recognition, Band Drum Major of the Year Award, international drum major, national drum major. Our band went down there, we kicked up more dust and steps because we were like a military academy anyway. Because Mr. Radley, Mr. Radley, he made us march in the morning. They take your name and then you go to your classes and we practice early in the morning. I think we'd be down there under the holler about 6 o'clock in the morning, just serving the peace down there.
Believe me, I live right there. I live right there on top on Carver Street. So like y'all used to wake me up on Saturdays like marching around. You would go around, then you go all the way down Freeman, then Barnes, up Barnes, and back around, correct?
Down the holler, all the way around the hill down there. It was just so much. It was a lot of fun, but we practiced enough to be good because you could have to listen, and you could tell when somebody was out of step just by the tapping on the thing. Mr. Paulo told me to be alert about that.
Yeah. I remember the band hall too over there.
Yes.
Yeah. It's still there, but I don't know if it's
the band hall.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandma, of course, she was over the cafeteria. You talked about that, I think, on Facebook. Tell us a little bit about what the cafeteria is like.
We had the best food ever. Every band that came to our school, we had to feed them. Yeah. And they always talk about our cafeteria compared to colleges and everything. We had the best cooks in the world right there.
Right.
Once you eat that food there, you want it again.
Oh, yeah.
They tried to duplicate the menu at Carver at one of the school reunions. It was horrible.
I remember, Ruby, my grandma Ruby, she, making the cinnamon rolls, peanut butter cookies, all that stuff. Her house smelled like a restaurant. She could sew, she could cook, she could do everything.
She was another Martha Stewart, just to get her dues.
Yeah,
really she was. Could do anything.
Yeah, she's a really interesting person. She's my grandmother, so of course I'm biased, but it was just so class. I mean, she had so much class about her. It seemed like nothing really fazed her, but she would get mad now. When she got mean, she get the switch on you. But it was just her poise and everything was like really astounding.
Well, see, when the lift had their little summer things and we get summer jobs, I worked in the cafeteria with Miss Harriet. Miss Harriet then would take that little stool and walk around and put a little stool up. The pots would be so tall, she had to stand on a stool and stir the pot. And one day she said, "Boy, you see me struggling. Come over here and help me. Take this wood spoon right here, this wood spoon, and stir that for me. Just stir it."
I remember that big old mixer. That big old mixer they had in there. You remember that?
Yes,
it was like this big industrial size mixer. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So great. Yeah. So Mr. Ratliff, of course, he kept everything in check. Rat. My dad had talked about Rat all the time. What was Mr. Ratliff like?
He was like a drill sergeant. You had to respect yourself. You had to respect the campus. He made you learn the little emblems up or enter this place to learn, leave, and on the podiums right outside the school.
Yeah,
that's what we had to learn. We had to learn a lot of stuff, and he didn't spare the rod. If you were late and you was out, everybody was all in line. He said, "Oh no, stand over here, Pooch."
Now he had his house. I remember his house was over next to the gym. He had he had hogs out there, right?
Yeah, in the backyard.
Tell us about the gym. The Carver gym, I guess, was kind of the envy of most Black schools because both schools didn't have a gym. Tell us about the gym.
The gym was 2-story. It was a white building. Mm-hmm. And when they have tournaments and everything, the gym, what kept us from really integrating. If that gym, they hadn't burned the gym down, the white kids would have had to come to Carver because they were equipped for everything. They had everything up to standard when accreditation came. Oh, but they saw fit to burn our gym down, and I protested about that.
Now, how many times did the gym burn? I know it burned once or twice.
It burned twice to my knowledge. Oh, that's when it became the brick building. They didn't want us to have anything. Yeah. They didn't want us to do nothing. And when I said they, I'm talking about the Babylonians. They know who they are.
Babylonians. All right, so we're gonna kind of parlay into some other more about your life now. After you left Carver, I wanted to talk about a subject that's kind of touchy, of course, for everybody. But your life story is kind of pretty much well known, open book. You're an advocate for LGBTQ. How did all of that come about? Like, when did you realize that you were different in that way? And what was it like growing up?
As a kid, I learned that I didn't like to do everything everybody else liked to do.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted more. I wanted to be a professional dancer. I wanted to be an opera singer. I wanted the arts.
Mm-hmm.
And there were people who saw that in me and they counseled me, like Dr. Zuber. I had to go to see a psychiatrist because at that time I didn't feel like I didn't feel the normal stuff that everybody else wanted to do. I wanted more. I wanted to be by that little white house up on the hill with a picket fence and just live happy and take care of my family.
So they treated like a mental illness, basically, like that.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Was there any violence? Was there any violence toward that back then?
Yes, it was. It was a lot, but I was a warlord. When people said something and blew me out of character, I didn't think at that time. I just started hitting and fighting because you didn't call me names.
Right.
And then I learned from my mother, she said, I'm going to love you regardless. You're my child. I know what you do. I might not approve of it, but if you like a rattlesnake, be with that rattlesnake, but don't bring that rattlesnake in my house. Respect me and respect yourself while you're doing anything that you do. You can be, I don't mind you sewing. I don't mind you dancing, but I don't want you wearing dresses and makeup. Stay out of my makeup, stay out of my dresses. But that didn't do anything. It was just a burning desire in me to get out and see other parts of the world. So once Miss Deborah took me to Ole Miss to audition for their drama club, and we had to dance. And Juilliard said that I was what they would desire. But you had other people that judged me didn't like it. So, and then they whispered behind my back. And I asked one of the judges, you could talk to the judges. Just what was it? She said, we don't have Black people, but they had Africans there that was dancing. And I said, but Miss Deborah was just appalled, and she told me not to give up. Later on in life, I want to excel, so I want to show people what I could do and what I knew. And my way to that was through the band and the plays, the drama. I was president of the drama club. I loved acting. I was just active in every aspect of the arts. And that wasn't normal. Malcolm Jackson even told me one time when I would put tights on and do interpret dance, he thought I was crazy. And we were sitting up there watching something once, and he said, you did this, and they doing it, they getting paid. He said, you should have been getting paid then. I said, nobody listened to me, Malcolm. And I got involved in the gay community in high school. I started meeting people because I traveled a lot, my mother and them. That's before you could just get on the thing and when they put a little tag around their neck. If I was going to Chicago, they'd put Chicago and Springer and put this little tag around their neck and put you on the train. And when you get off in Chicago, your parents will be that way for you.
Okay, I got you. Like an unaccompanied minor. Okay.
Yes.
So in Tupelo, like how many people were in that community as far as LGBT? Like I'll say the 60s. Was there very many, or most of them undercover, or what? How did it go? We don't want to.
There were so many closet cases. there were people who would do stuff behind closed doors, and they were married and stuff. And to be honest with you, I got a lot of money when I was growing up. I didn't have to have sex. People just felt on me, felt my genitals and stuff. And had my mother known that, I would have been in big trouble because she detested that.
Yeah.
But at that time, there were so many people. I mean, when you say pedophilia, there was a lot of that going on. Right. I was in the 6th grade when I first had my first sexual encounter, and I was brutally beaten and raped. That was a shush stuff in the family. You didn't go out. What goes on in your household stays in your household. It was a family member who did it to me and left me for dead. And then I began to detest in the way I did it. I took it out on people. I became bitter. I grew bitter on the inside because I had no outlet. So my only outlet was going to Chicago, and I was able to go to clubs and stuff and pose as I was 18, and I wasn't 18. So I got exposed to that life in the big house, really.
Oh, okay. So, but you have children, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So explain to me a little bit. I don't want to get too much into it though. Like, your kind of, I guess it's like a feminine versus, or not versus, but in addition to your masculinity. How do you deal with that balance there? Like, what happened? Like, you just decide one day, I want to have children, or how did that work?
Well, when I was growing up, I didn't want to be the outcast.
Okay.
So guys encouraged me, go on and do it. Well, that really wasn't what I wanted, but I ran into a few ladies that I actually cared for, and I would lay it down. But at that time, being gay was my source of income.
Oh, okay.
I could go and get $500 or $600 then for my services. In other words, services trying to get paid.
I got you.
I always desired to be that person that people could come to that lived that life and was afraid because their parents didn't approve of them. And I was always on the defensive side for them, not knowing I was damaging myself into a world and a life that I wouldn't wish some of the things that had happened to me on anyone. When I moved to Detroit, I became an escort. And being an escort taught me a lot of stuff, and it exposed me to a lifestyle that could be prosperous. I made money, lots of money. When I started hanging out with Teddy Pendergrass and some of the celebrities there, like Aretha Franklin, just Thomas Whitfield, who was my lover at one time. He was the greatest organ player for James Cleveland. I sang with Voice of Tabernacle. I got a renowned name. I started dancing, and once I danced, I took all of my anxieties out of dance. And I became somebody to be reckoned with right there in Detroit. And from there, my life just spiraled into the gay community, because once I went to Detroit, I was in high school.
Wow.
And I was just go at it, just go.
So you would go there, you would go there in the summer, or you just did, you say while you were in high school? Like...
I would go during the holidays.
Okay.
If it was Christmas holidays, sometimes I went to spend home at Christmas. Thanksgiving, I very rarely stayed home. I was in St. Louis. And in the summer months, I would go to like Chicago and Detroit. And my family accepted me, but my mother accepted me. Today, a lot of people don't accept what it is, but I am who I am. And before I take it back, I can add some more to it. It's just that in the community, I'm known as Grandma and Lucretia Moore.
Yeah.
I'm a fashionista. I won Face Over 40 grand prize winner. I'm a BChat Golden Flame in the gay community. I'm an advocate.
So
I stand up for
where all have you been able to go nationally and internationally with your modeling career and so forth?
London, Sierra Leone, South Africa, Jamaica, Hawaii, just you name it. I've been New York, LA. LA, we set trends there with the company I work for. London, we were given 2-hour show because we did something amazing there. The International Theater of Hair out of New York. I learned a lot of skills that they're not using right now. Say the locks and stuff. They don't know how. Actually, people that do them are like, well, the Africans and the Jamaicans, but Black people are getting into it now, how to groom a man's hair.
Oh,
we learn all of that, yes.
Okay.
But just traveling with the gay community, I've been to Houston, Texas, and just clowned. I went to Dallas, Texas for BTAC. I just love my people. I don't hide nothing I do. I never did. My kids accept me.
Right.
My family, I got some of them that might be a little scrutinizing with me, but who cares? This is my life.
Right.
And if I'm not happy, I'm not doing anything that I'm not happy doing. I enjoy doing what I do. And anything that I attempt, I'm going to put my best to do it. Best.
Well, you know, like I said when I first started, I really appreciate, you know, your honesty. I've really kind of grown. I've never really been unaccepted of LGBT. Like some men, you know, a lot of men, they're really like, I think they're insecure or whatever. I don't really know why. I mean, I understand it's a stigma still in 2021, but it really it's amazing to me kind of how some men, especially, and women too, but especially men are really just harsh, at least publicly, outwardly, toward gays.
Now, that's what I want to hear publicly, because some of those same men will get behind closed doors and say, hey, I want to try this. I never tried it before. And don't tell nobody.
You know, I always thought, you know, if that really wasn't your thing, like, it wouldn't really bother you. You know what I mean? Like, I know that I'm not gay. I've never had that tendency, you know, and I'm sure you know at an early age, you know, like, if that's not my thing, why would that person bother? You know what I mean? It doesn't bother me. And I think a lot of people hide behind the fact that, you know, religion, and they always say that gay people can influence, you know, younger people. But what I've noticed that more sexual assaults happen from, you know, so-called heterosexuals toward, you know, young people than gays. I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, it depends on the individual as to how they feel within. You know, there is a dark side to everybody. There's a side that curiosity killed the cat.
Right.
Well, if it didn't kill this cat, why would it kill the other cat? A lot of people I've run into on my path in life, as an escort, you just about be prepared for anything and everything. There are some people who want to find out what do you do, curious. They want to try something different, you know, and
so
you don't just get up and try it. This is your life. This is not a lifestyle. People take it as a lifestyle. This is your life. This is how you're going to live the rest of your life. Are you happy in your own skin?
Yeah.
And I find that I have talked to a lot of cisgender men, and they say, well, what made you do that? So what made you do that? Cisgender. Straight men.
Huh?
That means straight men, cisgender.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
And I had told one man one day, I said, well, what do you do in bed? He said, I eat my baby, I eat my honey. I said, is that a normal sex habit? Or is that a fetish? Or is that a tendency? I said, what made you perform oral sex? I said, well, if well, she can do me, I'm not. I said, I don't want to hear that. If she did you, you did her. It's a lot of stuff that we hide behind stuff.
Yeah,
Curiosity, curious,
yeah,
the hatred that we have and killing people because of their sexual preference. I don't do nothing to you.
right.
Don't
Yeah,
drop me.
I don't agree with that. Even publicly denouncing a person if they're good people, they're good people. You know what I mean? Like if they're hetero, homo, lesbian, whatever, if they good people, they good people. As long as it's between consenting adults, you know what I mean? I don't have a problem with it. I don't try to get into the whole spirituality of it because I mean if you want to look back in the Bible, you can find a whole lot of crazy stuff in the Bible,
Yeah.
So I mean I don't try to
So
get into
it said, the Bible said we were born in sin.
right.
All right, we came from incest.
Right. They don't
Where
want to
did
do
all the
that.
babies,
They
where did
don't
all
want to
the
do
babies
that.
come from Adam, Eve? He
They don't want,
begat and he begat, he begat and she begat.
they don't want to deal with that
Oh, so we were born out of incest. So
Right.
if you really believe in spirituality,
Yeah.
biblically speaking,
Yeah. But
Eve, what did Eve do? She slept with her own kids and she got more kids, didn't she?
ain't no other way to do it. I mean, if you're the first, you gotta come through incest. I mean, that's just the bottom line. But people they don't want to deal with that. But anyway, but I appreciate your honesty, and we got a lot of stuff to work on down the line. So we finally got this Zoom thing right, but we're gonna have more Zooms in the future.
Well, I'm elated and I'll be looking forward to it.
Okay then. All right. Have a
All
good
right.
day, boy.
You as well.
All right. All right. Bye.
Bye.